Hey guys, and welcome to Diabetic 365. And today I'm sitting here with Joy. She is a spokesperson for the American Dietetic Association. She is also a registered dietitian and she has got her PhD in food science. So today she's going to talk about the celiac disease and also its relation with diabetes. And hi Joy, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So tell us, what is a celiac disease? Because many people in America today are being affected by this celiac disease.
Yeah, so celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder, and in fact, 1% of the U.S. population has been diagnosed with celiac disease. And you may be wondering, what does that mean, autoimmune disorder? Well, basically your body attacks itself because you are eating a protein that you're allergic to. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is this can affect your gut, basically, and create gastrointestinal distress, mm-hmm. and basically exert an allergic reaction to that protein when you eat it. So it is a very serious disease, and you have to be tested to ensure that you do have a sensitivity to what's called gluten, and that's the protein that your body reacts to because it can't tolerate it.
So let me understand correctly. So the protein is called gluten.
Mm-hmm.
So that is found in different foods. So when we eat mm-hmm. that food, so it is an allergic to our body, and that causes celiac.
Yes,
is it correct?
That's correct. So you do find gluten in certain products like wheat, mm-hmm. Barley and rye and malt. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be very careful when, if you are diagnosed with celiac disease or you think you're having an allergic reaction, mm-hmm. that you get diagnosed, because there's long-term ramifications mm-hmm. for letting this disease basically go out of control.
Okay. So now the celiac disease is something which is quite often seen in also people with diabetes. Mm-hmm. So diabetes or type 1 diabetes. So what is the connection between the celiac disease and diabetes?
So what we know is that 10% of those with type 1 diabetes mm-hmm. actually are more susceptible to have celiac disease. So for those who have type 1 diabetes, 10% of that population also has celiac, so they're more susceptible. We don't see a connection, though, for those that have type 2 diabetes with celiac disease. I'm not saying that you can't get that, but at this point we don't see a connection. It's mainly with type 1 diabetics.
So the numbers are more, leaning towards the type 1.
Correct.
Okay. So the next question is, when you are aware that you have this, celiac, so what foods contains this kind of gluten or this protein that you said?
Yeah, so to be tested, just to step back and ensure that you're getting the testing done, they're going to do blood tests, and then they're actually going to take a biopsy of your gut and look at sections of that, what they call microvilli, to see how your body's responding and if there is inflammation there. And through those types of tests, they can then diagnose whether you have celiac disease. Mm-hmm. And again, when you consume products that have gluten in it, like wheat, rye, barley, malt, and oats, some oats, you will have an allergic reaction if you have celiac disease. Mm-hmm. And it can manifest itself through an upset stomach. So you'll have bloating, diarrhea, you could have constipation, you may have allergic skin reaction. In fact, you could have migraines. It kind of manifests itself different ways in different people. So you just want to be aware of some of those types of responses that can result.
Mm-hmm. So can we find some foods which are gluten-free so that it can be consumed by type 1 diabetes?
Sure. So unfortunately, before there wasn't too many products that were offered for those people who have celiac disease or who needed gluten-free products. But now there's been an emergence of a number of products that are available in the supermarket. Mm-hmm. And what those products consist of, they don't have any of those ingredients that we talked about that elicit an immune response. Mm-hmm. But what they're comprised of would be brown, you can have brown rice or white rice, buckwheat, quinoa, millet, you can have cassava, corn. So those types of grains people don't have a reaction to. And actually there's a few more. Chia seeds is another one, arrowwheat, and Malay, I think I hadn't mentioned that, and sorghum. So there are a different number of grains that you can have that don't have gluten in them.
And here is an interesting question though. When you take a gluten out of food, what happens is, I've read that the carb count in that food actually rises.
Yeah, and that actually can be the case. So what can happen is when you start to adjust the carbohydrate content, because you are removing some carbs if you don't have, you know, like I was mentioning, the rye and the wheat and the barley and those type of things. But those other grains have a different amount of carbs in them. So some of these gluten-free products can be very densely packed. And so they have a different amount of carbohydrates in them, as well as they could be higher in fat. They could be lower in fiber, and they could be also missing certain nutrients. And so that's why you really want to monitor your diet.
And also greater in glycemic index.
Yes, it can affect the glycemic index. So it's really important that, you know, if you have been diagnosed with celiac disease and you have to modify your diet, to really check your blood sugar on a constant basis to ensure that your body's responding properly and that you can adjust your insulin levels as needed.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that was my question. How does the carb count change from normal food to a gluten-free?
Yeah, and it really depends. You have to look at the package to see what the carbohydrate content is. But to your point, it can vary, and it can actually provide more carbohydrates, like I was mentioning, so you just really need to closely monitor it.
Oh, okay. So, you know, all these foods that you said are great, but are there anything that I should be looking out for these hidden sources of gluten?
Yeah, you really need to be crafty and investigative when looking at the ingredient statement. Now, I will tell you the FDA right now is going through rulemaking process for manufacturers if they want to claim gluten-free. There has been a proposed rule, but it's not final, so we really don't know yet. So what that regulation is going to be. However, there is an allergy warning statement that now has been put in place. So for products that contain the 8 most common allergens, which includes wheat, you can find there that it would list wheat. However, to your point, there are things that are hidden, and you just want to be careful of ingredients such as starch, that may say starch or modified food starch, or dextrin or hydrolyzed vegetable protein. These ingredients can actually contain gluten in them and may, again, elicit a response that wouldn't be desirable. So you really have to be crafty. The other thing is natural flavorings. Could also be comprised of some gluten in there, natural seasonings. So there can be some hidden gluten products or ingredients in there that you may not be aware of. So you just got to be mindful of that. And I would encourage your viewers to consult with a registered dietitian to really be able to understand the ingredient statement.
That's very good. So now I have to be careful of the celiac foods that I choose. But when I go to shop out there, what are some of the factors that I need to, keep in my mind when I'm doing my shopping list and when I go to a grocery store?
So again, looking at the ingredient statement, some actual grocery stores are now listing on their website gluten-free products that are available. So they've done some of the work for you, which is great. So I'd encourage you to go to your supermarket's website, see if they have anything listed there. They now have gluten-free sections in the supermarket. You can go there and feel pretty rest assured that those are gluten-free products. But as a diet as a whole, it can be challenging because, like I said, you can miss essential nutrients like iron, some of the B vitamins, and fiber in gluten-free products. So you really have to ensure that you're incorporating healthful foods. Fruits and vegetables you can still have, your lean sources of protein, low-fat dairies. You just have to be careful with the carbohydrates with the gluten in them.
Oh, okay. So the next question is are there any kind of long-term complications with celiac?
Yeah, in fact there is. If you let it go unchecked for a while, it will cause GI distress, which eventually all that inflammation can really affect your body. Bone mineral density can go down, especially for women, so you have to be careful of that. So there are long-term ramifications, particularly in folks with diabetes, trying to monitor that because the diet can be restrictive. So again, your best bet is to really meet with your healthcare provider and your dietitian to really get that diet that's right for you.
Okay, that's very good. And thank you. And do you have any other thing to add to this topic which I have missed or something like that?
Well, I think we know that, to be honest, like I said, 1% of the population does have celiac disease. There has been a trend to follow a gluten-free diet. I don't advocate for that because of the reasons I said, that it can be a restrictive diet. You don't get enough fiber, iron, and B vitamins, which can result in effects. So I would make sure that you are diagnosed with celiac disease before you actually start a gluten-free diet to ensure that it is the best diet for you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joy, for being on the show and sharing your thoughts on celiac disease and also its relation to diabetes and how type 1 diabetic people have to be careful with the celiac disease and also the foods they have to choose when eating. So thank you so much
for being here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.